Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining our webinar today. I am Abdul. I am a product consultant at 42K's Bangalore office. Today, I am here to discuss a rising challenge that many organizations face after adopting Linux devices, managing them effectively. Looks like people are still joining in, so let us wait for 2 minutes more. Before we begin, I would like to request that you drop any questions you may have during the presentation in the question box panel that is present on the right hand side of your screen, and we will answer them at the end of the session. So let's begin. Let me give you a brief overview of all the things that we are going to discuss today. We will start with an introduction to Linux device management and what are the challenges that businesses face while adopting Linux devices as an endpoint. Next, we will move to the major capabilities that are absolutely essential for businesses to manage an entire fleet of devices. Then we shall discuss the Linux distribution supported by SureMDM, and finally I will also show you a quick demonstration of how you can use SureMDM to enable all these features at the end of this webinar. You will be able to manage any Linux distribution deployed in the field within your workforce. Without further ado, let's get started. A rising number of organizations are embracing Linux as a core part of their infrastructure. And why not? They should. After all, Linux, being an open source platform, allows developer teams to work more effectively and quickly compared to others OSs. Linux is also highly customizable and allows them to be innovative. Most of all, Linux as a hardware provides a cost-effective option for businesses. So various businesses across industries are rapidly adopting Linux devices as a cost-effective solution for their infrastructure needs. However, Linux forms a part of enterprise infrastructure that usually consists of devices based on other platforms as well. And so they must be managed along with them. Unfortunately, it is not an easy task as there are too many solutions in the market that can help businesses achieve that. As a result, IT team lack complete visibility into their device fleets, which makes it difficult for them to ensure a consistent user experience across all devices. Let's move on to see how businesses can solve these challenges with SureMDM Linux device management capabilities. Basically, these are the capabilities that can empower any business to get the most out of their Linux infrastructure. If correctly used, IT admins can create an environment where they can easily deploy, configure Linux devices as well as managing their entire life cycle. Some of the key features of SureMDM Linux device management are centralized view, application management, Linux Kiosk mode, remote Linux desktop tool, OS updates, easy and fast content distribution, remote Linux shell scripting, user management, remote system configuration, blocking website access. Now let's dive deeper into each of these features and see how they can benefit you as an admin and as a business. The first feature that we will discuss is centralized management. Due to lack of single tool to manage all these devices at once, IT admins are forced to use more than one tool to manage Linux devices. As a result, it is difficult for IT admins to get a centralized view of all these devices deployed by the businesses. This is where SureMDM comes into picture. SureMDM provides a single platform through which admins can easily enroll devices just as any other device and start managing them. The platform provides rich data about these assets and their status in real time, and businesses can deploy devices at scale, install business applications easily, create dedicated purpose devices by converting Linux device into Kiosk, managing devices in a comprehensive manner, and push OS updates to ensure that Linux devices are up to date with critical security patches. Next, we will discuss Linux kiosk mode. Many businesses who have started deploying Linux machines to its workforce must have a robust mechanism that can prevent device misuse. So, for this purpose, enabling kiosk mode on device can help them achieve this. By converting the Linux machine into dedicated purpose devices, businesses can optimize them for business use. SureMDM's Linux MDM capabilities help businesses restrict users' access to approved apps and settings only. However, this feature is supported only on 1 to 1804 LTS or 20.4 LTS versions. The third feature on our list today is Remote Linux Desktop Tool. Deploying Linux machine for remote DevOps team helps businesses cut infrastructure cost. However, it is important to manage these machines remotely. Otherwise, it may cause a significant risk to an organization. This is where SureMDM's Remote Linux Desktop tool helps admins. It aids IT team to access Linux desktop remotely so that can troubleshooting issues remotely, view Linux desktop screen remotely from a browser of a Windows computer or from another Linux machine, or even from a mobile device, interact with the remote Linux device using your computer mouse and keyboard. Troubleshooting configuration issues on headless devices with no external display or input devices. Moving on, we will be discussing OS updates. When you deploy hundreds of Linux machines, it is extremely difficult to ensure that all deployed devices are always updated consistently. Typically, Linux has multiple distributions and versions, and in order to ensure that the entire fleet remains secure and compliant, businesses must keep them updated with the latest patches. With SureMDM's Linux MDM solution, IT teams can install kernel and OS updates remotely, push OS patches to Linux device at scale, test new features on selected devices and push updates regularly even while the product is still on the production line. Now, let's move on to our next part where we will discuss the benefits of distributing content through SureMDM. While interacting with customers across globe, sales team needs to share business data, and most of the time the data is company's proprietary information. Therefore, they must have a secure way to distribute sensitive business data. SureMDM Linux device management features allows IT admin to distribute a wide variety of content formats securely and remotely. This includes documents, files, and other media to a large number of devices with just a click. Also, SureMDM supports relay server technology, which is super helpful for faster downloads. Moreover, relay technology reduces the network bandwidth usage. And then moving on, let's talk about remote Linux shell scripting. If you are using Linux machines, you must be familiar with shell commands. Developer writes various kind of shell scripts to avoid repetitive work and to automation and to add few functionalities to shell. System admins use shell commands for taking routine backups and monitoring systems. Sometimes IT teams need to implement shell commands on Linux devices in order to implement a command directly from a remote location. So, without having a robust Linux management tool, it may be difficult to run these scripts. But with SureMDM's Linux device management feature, IT teams can execute Linux shell commands to perform any operation on remote Linux computer or devices. For instance, they can install applications, create and delete directories, create and delete files, configure, read, write, execute permissions to files, move files between folders. And moving on to the eighth feature, that is user management. There are many industries that leverage various technologies to reduce infrastructure cost. User management is one such technology. Businesses can create multiple users profile on a single Linux machine. To allow users to share a single Linux device, this can help them to reduce inventory cost at a significant level. However, uh, this is easier said than done, especially when you have tens and thousands of devices in your fleet. Managing multiple users' profiles for all their needs um, may be a challenging task. With SureMDM makes this possible. SureMDM Linux device management features allows you to add, remove, manage users on Linux devices, assign or revoke admin access, and enable login access rules to allow users to log in on specific day and time. Let's let us now discuss a little bit about remote system configuration and how business benefits from these settings. Today, an increasing number of organizations are embracing hybrid workplace modules, and this has become the new norm, especially in the post pandemic world. But to support such a initiative, businesses must empower their IT team with the tool that they can enable their employees remotely. And for that very reason, they must roll out ready to use devices that are well configured. With SureMDM, IT teams can configure system settings to enhance employee productivity, configure network settings to ensure that device remain connected always no matter what, block a specific URL to prevent distraction through games and entertainment portals, block USB ports to avoid data leakage, disable clipboards to restrict copy paste. Lastly, we will discuss the block website access settings. When devices are deployed for business purpose only, admin must ensure that they are optimized for work. By restricting certain websites such as social media and gaming URLs, admin can ensure that users are not distracted at work and security of the corporate data is not compromised. So admin can use SureMDM's Linux MDM feature to block a specific unapproved websites or URLs remotely so that all so that all about the Linux management feature. Now, if you have to deploy different versions of Linux devices, you must be wondering what version does SureMDM support. SureMDM supports all major Linux distributions, including CentOS, SUSE, Linux Mint, Ubuntu, Fedora, and Red Hat. If you need any help to deploy your Linux devices, you can contact our support team and we will help you out. Now, let me show you of these features in SureMDM console and how you can use them. Just to quickly apprise on how to log in to 42Gaze UEM console, you can visit 42gaze.com website, register yourself by clicking on the free trial button, which is right here at the right hand side. Now, moving on to the SureMDM console, once you have an account created, you will be able to log in. And this is SureMDM UEM unified console where I have enrolled two Linux devices to my console. Now, before we begin, let me show you how you can go ahead and enroll a Linux machine to SureMDM console. So the steps are really simple. So once you log into the console, under enrollment, we have an option where it gives you the instructions how to get the devices enrolled to the console. The first prerequisite that is needed if you have to get any of the Linux machines enrolled to SureMDM console, either you need to have OpenJDK 7 or above or Oracle JDK 7 and above. So you have to first make sure that you have um, either JDK 7 or Java JDK 7 or Oracle JDK 7. And once you're done verifying that, then you can simply open the terminal on the Linux machine and you can use the commands to enroll your device. With wget, it redirects you to a website where it will download the SureMDM agent onto your computer. Once you're done doing that, the second step, you will be extracting all those files using the second command. And once you're done extracting, then you will be installing the SureMDM agent onto the Linux machine. Now, you can use this command where this command will help you install the agent on the device, and at the same time, it will also map your SureMDM console where you can simply add your account ID. And then once you're done doing that, it will ask you, how do you want your device naming. So do you want your serial number or do you want a host number or a manual name or a system generated name? So you can choose any of these options if you have to name your device. And then you can also define where where do you want this device to be mapped. So in SureMDM, we have an option for groups where you can have groups created in geographical manner. And if you want any specific device to be enrolled to that specific group, then you can specify the group. And once you are done doing that, your device will be enrolled to the console. And this is how, these are the few steps that are needed in order to get your device enrolled to the SureMDM console. Now moving back, now as you can see, I have two devices enrolled with the same steps that I just presented. Now with this, I will be able to, once the device is enrolled to the console, now just wanted to, before I move, I just wanted to show you that this is our console. Just wanted to give you an overview. Towards your left, we have the grouping section where groups can be created in a based on geographical manner or based on on your company hierarchy. And at the same time, towards your right, it also gives you the device information, and it also gives you the network, battery, and memory information as well, so that you will know what is the device model, what is the operating system that is running on it, and what is the SureMDM agent which is running on that device. Now, let me quickly show you how you can remote into any of the Linux device. So all you have to do is you can select any device that is enrolled to the console, and you can use this dynamic job, which where you will find an option for remote, and you can simply click on it. Now once you do, it will automatically remote into your device. Right now I'm remoting into my device. As you can see, I am able to remote into my device. Now, not just that I can remote into my device, I can also perform touch activities. Now, if I have to perform any activity as an IT admin, if I have to remote into a device, I should be able to perform activities, touch activities on the device, so that I can, troubleshoot and perform activities on the same. So if I have to simply perform any of the touch activities, or open any of the applications, or close them, or launch the terminal, I should be able to do that. Now here I have clicked and I can launch any application on the device. Now this is about the touch activities that I'm performing on the device. And at the same time, towards your right hand side of the screen, you also get access to the hard drive of that Linux machine. So you will be able to access all the data which is present on that hard drive. And if you want to download or upload any files, you can also do that. We also have a clipboard option. Now, for example, if you have a lengthy URL and that you want to copy it onto the remote machine, so you can copy paste that lengthy URL, and you should be able to send it to the device, and all you have to do is right click on that device, and it will give you an option to paste that information. And at the same time, we also have task manager, which will help you kill services. Now if you have remoted into a Linux machine, and if you find that this is one of the package or a service which is causing the issue, you can try killing that service instantly while you're remoted into that device. Now let's move on and explore the other features that are present within SureMDM. Now, within SureMDM, we also have an option called jobs. Now, jobs are basically helps you manage Linux devices remotely. So with the helps of job, what you can also do is you can transfer files, that is your content management. You can create files and you can transfer them. And at the same time, you can also run scripts. So I will show you how you can, use scripts from SureMDM console. So let's click on the Linux platform, and these are the options that are present within the Linux jobs. So we have run script, where this option makes IT guy's life more easier, because if the IT guy has to give any admin privileges, create any users, delete any users, they can immediately do that by using a script, and also blocking the USB so that the data is not transferred to any other devices. So these are the scripts that we have, and all you have to do is select these scripts, validate them, and insert, and you can give a name. So you can basically give a name as USB disable, and you can simply save that. Now once you save, that will list down into your device, and all I have to do is select the device where I want to block the USB. Either it can be a single device or a fleet of devices. If it is a fleet of device, then I have to simply right click on the Linux machine and click on apply, and it should give me an option to apply the run script that I have created to disable the USB. So with this, if there are hundreds and thousands of devices within that group, and with that script that I've created, I was able to apply, and I was able to restrict all the USB ports on those Linux machines which were there on that specific console. Now, this is about scripts. Now let's talk about the profiles. Under profile, uh, you will also find there are other options that will help you manage all these Linux devices. Now you have two platforms, that is jobs and profiles. You can use both of these platforms to manage your devices. Now with the profile section, you can also configure kiosk mode. When I say kiosk mode, um, you will be able to whitelist certain applications, and only those applications will be visible to the user, and that will become a dedicated device or a user specific or a use case device, where it will be whitelisted only with those applications what IT admin has approved or whitelisted. Now, with that, there are a few other options that you can also do. There is also content management. If you have to transfer any of the files, you can simply create a transfer job, a file transfer job, and you can add any kind of files. As I mentioned in my previous slides, you can add a document, audio, video, or any kind of files, and you should be able to um, transfer those files la- onto your Linux devices. Let me quickly log in back to my console. I'm really sorry, it's just taking few seconds to load the page. I wanted to show you the kiosk mode, how easy it is to create and deploy onto these devices, and how easy it is to manage all these Linux devices, a fleet of Linux devices using SureMDM. Okay. Meanwhile, let me just refresh this again to make sure. Okay, let's move on. Um, Now, moving back to our in the demo, as you could see, I was able to demonstrate how you can enroll a Linux machine, how you can remote into the devices, and manage or troubleshoot any of those devices. And at the same time, you can also use the profile section and the different settings that are available, which can also be pushed using SureMDM console. And we also have job sections which will help you push the content onto the device. And we also have this scripting section where you can also manage um, a fleet of devices if you have to delete a specific file or create users or give them admin rights and things like that. And um, so moving on, um, so So thank you for attending our webinar today. It's now time to answer the questions that were submitted during the session. Okay, so I have my first question here. Um, so is it possible to configure schedule time for jobs and profiles for Linux machines? Yes, with SureMDM, yes, you can definitely, schedule a job or a profile at a given period of time. You can create those jobs, and within the job section, you have an option to schedule a specific job to be pushed or to be applied onto a given device at a specific time. Okay, I also there is another question. Can we remotely configure Wi-Fi SSIDs on Linux machine? Yes, you can definitely do that. Um, you will be able to configure SSIDs, both um, uh, um, devices which are hidden and devices which are also visible. Okay, how can we how we can upgrade patches? Now within the console, let me see if I can navigate back. Yes, I can. Now within the console, here under the profile section, we have an option where you can check the option for the upgrade patches. So if there is a patch available, it will automatically update. Not just the patch, even the kernel updates, if those updates are available, it should be you should be able to update them. Is it possible to manage upgrades, application and OS patching? Yes, that is definitely possible. Under profile section, we do have that option where in the profile section, you will be able to select that option. And once that option is selected and that particular profile is pushed onto the device, and if there are any OS patches available, yes, you can definitely, upgrade them and also update the applications at the same time. Okay, is it possible to manage disk encryption and keys? Um, Currently, we do not have that, but yes, that can be taken as a future request, and probably we can check the feasibility for the same. Okay, with that, we come to an end of this webinar. We hope that you like our session today and that we could answer your queries related to Linux management. If you would like to re-watch this webinar, we will upload it to the YouTube in a day or two. If you have any more questions, please feel free to send us an email at webinar@42gears.com or visit our website at www.42gears.com. Thank you and stay safe.